movement. The fellas are in studio. It is in the house. Yet again, another broadcast morning with the fellas from the Veterans Movement and beyond. It is a delight to be with you. My name is Rick Amati, your host, and joining us in studio, the man, the myth, the legend, Mr. Tony Diaz.
Tony.
See how that went?
We're all waiting.
You see how that? Who's it going to be today?
Very good.
The ficus.
How's it? Good morning.
How's it, brother? How's everything with you, man?
Everything is all right.
Everything's all right.
Yeah, man. Everything's good.
I know that last week was another successful, wonderful get-together with a seminar out at Veterans United. How did things go?
Things went well, man. It's amazing still that there's people out there who have this wonderful entitlement that don't know how it works and how valuable it could be in their lives. So we're just blessed to be able to spread the knowledge, man.
Next one coming up would be Tony?
The next one coming up would be...
Or Chris?
Well, we're actually doing one. We're heading out to the Big Island. We're heading to Hilo. Today. We're doing it today, actually. No,
Yeah, perfect.
Yeah.
It's
Oh my
amazing.
goodness, I'm not
This
even ready
very
for it.
time,
At this
we're
time,
teaching in Hilo.
The
Yes,
power
Chris just left.
of technology. That's a beautiful thing, man. That's
Yeah,
fantastic.
yeah.
Because, and that's another, just to put an exclamation point on, is that Tony and Veterans United and the entire team, not only here in Honolulu, neighbor islands, and at your own expense, spreading the word to the mainland.
Yes, indeed. We'll teach anywhere there's a veteran that needs it here. We do 3 of them a month here on Oahu. We'll be at the Marine Corps base to teach there. Go to all the neighbor islands. I've actually been to Seattle and San Diego and Missouri to teach there. So again, anywhere a veteran or a group of veterans need to hear about it, we're gonna be there.
And I started talking to Tony too. I want to bring this up because this is the eye-opening I got. I talked to Tony when I first got started in real estate, and he had done 2 or 3 seminars. I was going to the 3rd one, and I hear Tony talking about all this future tense ideas and things that are coming up with how he's going to help veterans and new things on the horizon. I pulled him aside, and I remember in the garage, I was like, Tony, bro, realistically, how many people do you think are out there? How many of these do you think you're going to be able to put on? We live on an island. You know, how many people are there out there? You're planning seminars 2 years in the future, and by then, don't you think we'll have talked to everybody? And it's so funny how naive I was at the time, because people come in and go out, and there's people there 2 or 3 times to hear the same seminar. People bring in their friends. It's never an empty house, and it
Right.
amazes me how many people don't know. So yeah, I thought that was funny. I recall asking you that about 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Yeah.
What happened? How are you going to do this for 3 years, bro?
Yeah, and here we are.
It's going to be never ending. It's going to be never ending because while on active duty, we don't get these briefings about our finances, and the stuff that they do teach us, they make it mandatory for me to go. Anything that's mandatory for me kind of makes me think about the beach, and so a lot of these young men and women, quite frankly, aren't thinking about home ownership at 18, 19, 20, 21 years of age. They're really thinking about, how am I going to get out after 4 years, or all these other things in life, but they're not thinking about their finances. And unfortunately, that's the gap that we're trying to fill with the seminars. We just need to give them knowledge about their benefit, their home loan benefit, as well as their financial history. A lot of these young men, they're never going to earn the amount of money that they earned at this point in their lives when they join the military. I know for me, it was the case. I was working as a custodian. Now I got all this money as an E3 buying an Acura Integra. I was like, what a wonderful thing, I look at all this money I don't have. And so they get in trouble financially.
Yeah.
So our job is to educate them about, don't blow this money. Use it for your future. The military can certainly set you up for your future, and so can the VA home loan benefit.
So is there one part in the seminar where you literally see a light go off, where there's that moment where it's
When we announced the free sandwiches.
Uh-huh.
No, we actually literally turn a light on at that point because then it just it blankets.
I see.
They're feeling already. It's pretty awesome.
So you made the turn from actually having the materials in Braille and went to the printed word.
lights.
Oh, that's fantastic. I love that.
There's a couple of points in the seminar that lights come on. One is when they realize you can use it more than once, and you can actually have more than one loan at a time in some cases. And the next one is when we do a 25-year analysis of somebody that serves 25 years in the military and go through their BAH for those 25 years, and they show them that they would have earned $677,000 tax-free for housing, that the government allows you to buy a house and pay interest and write that off against your taxable income. People just go, whoa.
My aha moment, because I went to a seminar,
Yeah.
and that's what changed my whole financial life. I went to the seminar years and years ago. Mine was when you talk about if there's a bank and you go to this proverbial bank and hey, I want to borrow $500,000. Okay, for what? Well, I want to go purchase this stock and this stock and this stock and then get involved in this fund and da-da-da-da-da. The bank's going to smack you like, what are you, crazy? We're not lending you money to go buy stocks. But the other side of that, hey, I want to borrow $500,000 to go buy this house. Oh, where's the house at? Well, let us send one of our guys out there and look at it. The appraiser. Oh,
Yeah.
that looks fine. Here's $500,000. So it's
Just like that.
that's not how it worked for you guys? That's not how it worked for you guys? Tell
So-
me 2-day turnaround?
I'm sorry, where is it?
It was on a lot of terrorist lists. We had a lot of things to clean up on for Corey. Yeah.
Wow. It's kind of like, it's like the I Dream of Genie strategy
Yeah.
to get a home.
Corey would,
I
Corey
wanna
would
know how it
Corey would
worked
tell
for
us,
you.
look guys, you know, I sell this stuff on the side. Corey, we can't use that income, man.
I brought my down payment in a Ziploc bag.
It is the veterans movement. Oh, learning way too much. And Corey, of course, whom you've heard of and heard from.
You heard of me.
Yeah.
That's
And
flattering.
as soon as the sandwiches came up, we're all, oh, Corey's back.
Fitness coordinator.
There we go. And Chris Connor, good morning to you too, sir.
Good morning, Rick. Good to be here. We had a great week last weekend, actually having USO with us, and we want to re-thank Lee and Carlos for coming out here and sharing what they do and their passion. And I mean, that's the beginning of a beautiful relationship between us and the veterans movement, you know. And that's what it's all about, you know. All these people who are continuing to serve even after their DD 214, even after they're out of the service, you know, just continuing to give. And I think we're going to see a little bit of that today, this morning, with our guests that we have.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Before we go, we always like to establish and once again remind everyone, mission of the veterans movement, why are we here, what's our objective, and how do we get there?
All right, so the veterans movement, it's been going on for a little while now. We got some momentum picking up. Our purpose is to basically be the one-stop shop for anything military related. We want to integrate all of these benefits that these military members have, you know, whether you're in the service, out of the service, whether you're just a military enthusiast, having a place to come and learn about whatever benefits that you may be entitled to, uniting all branches of the service, uniting service members with the community, and Oahu just being a beautiful place to serve right
Perfect.
here.
Very nicely done. Corey, let's take care of some business. What is it you do for a living, and how can folks come and see you?
My name is Corey Kazaris. I run the veteran real estate team, which is part of Island Style Realty. Our whole goal and our whole mission here is to help veterans own a piece of land they risk their life to protect. And more these days it becomes true that their lives are at risk to protect it. Got to own a piece of it, and that's our job, help veterans figure out how to do that financially and just, you know, with the process of real estate.
There we have it. Rustin Tong would be with us, but he has ballet class, I believe, at this time.
Yeah.
Is it ballet today?
Yeah, ballet lessons.
It's either that or harp.
Taking more lessons because he didn't get that. He didn't get that gig because.
No, he didn't get the gig at Cats either. He's continuing to fail. The problem is his kicks are too high. He needs to tone it down.
But when you're that limber, you have no control over the height of your
I'm
kick.
telling you, it's really. I don't know what it is. I think it just creeps the audience out.
Yeah.
In his defense, though, he didn't get the part in Swan Lake, but he did score a major role in Duck Pond. There's things on the horizon.
He's actually auditioning for Mean Girls, I think now. Mean Girls, it's Broadway. I think he's got a shot.
Yeah, he may. He's actually had a couple of shots to get that role. So
You see what happens when you don't come in the studio.
you gotta show up, man. Jason's kind of halfway on the edge this morning. We're kind of halfway there with our friend Jason. So let's see what transpires during the hour here.
He's a little bigger than us. So
That's
leave
it.
him alone.
I'll be way over here if you need me. I'll be behind you all the way. Listen, we're going to take a very short break, and when we come back, we're going to chat with some good friends in studio. You're not going to want to miss out. You're dialed into the Veterans Movement right here on News Radio 830 KHVH. Welcome back to the Veterans Movement, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, moms and dads. You thought I would forget. the intro.
I thought you were going to forget it. I really
I would
did.
never bail
I
on
was just
something
asking
that's
Corey,
important.
who's our audience this morning?
Yeah, who could
You know?
that be?
Ladies and gentlemen, maybe some boys and girls?
Yes.
Possibly a mom or dad.
Maybe a mom and her dad. Possibly.
Yeah.
Chris, do us a favor. We have
Sure.
some great guests and good friends in the studio.
We sure
Please do the introductions.
Yeah, well, we this morning we've been chasing Ben. We wanted to have Ben from the AUSA come on with us, and he's a busy man, and we can't be more grateful for the time he's taken to be a part of the movement this morning. And along we have Matthew McCarville as well, who's part of AUSA, but heading up the Wounded Warriors Project, I believe. And you know, they're going to chat a little bit about that. There's a lot of exciting things on the horizon that they have planned, and we thought it might be good for them to get them on the radio this morning. So without further ado, Ben and Matt. Woo!
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, moms and dads. There we go. Gentlemen. First of all, thank you so very much for joining us, and welcome to the program. Jump on in and a little introduction. Tell us about yourself.
First of all, I just want to give a big shout out for having us be here this morning, and special thanks to Veterans United as one of our corporate members. First, let me explain what AUSA is. It's the Association of United States Army, and I happen to be the chapter president here in Hawaii. And really what AUSA is, we're the voice for the Army, support for the soldiers. And we have a whole lot of volunteers as part of our chapter, and we do a lot to support the Army active duty, retirees, family members, as well as and Matt will talk about some of our Wounded Warrior projects. But we're just excited to be here. We've been around since about 1967. If you haven't heard about AUSA, go to our website, www.ausa.org, or shoot us an email at hawaii@ausa.org, and we'd be happy to give you more information that we don't provide this morning. So,
Excellent.
Thank you.
Excellent. And a little bit before we run away, tell us a little bit about yourself so folks get to know you a little bit. Originally hail from?
Actually, I'm a Navy brat, but I spent 30 years in the Army, retired in April of 10. And since that time frame, I've served as an Army civilian here in the Pacific. I've spent about 10 years out here in Hawaii, and there's not a better place to live. My wife put in the taproot about 6 years ago. She said, you can go
Nice.
wherever you want to, but I'm staying here.
That's a familiar conversation in this room.
So we had to find a way to make it happen, and we're just blessed that the Army provided me an opportunity to be an Army civilian, and just happy to be in my volunteer life as the chapter president for about the last 2 years here in Hawaii.
That's tremendous. Thanks so very much for that. Really appreciate it. Matt, would you mind snuggle on close to the microphone there and let us know all about yourself, please, sir?
Yeah, Rick, thanks for having us here this morning. It's a pleasure, and Andy, thanks for bringing us along on this. This is a great opportunity to get the word out of what we're doing. I have worked with the Wounded Warrior Project in support of the Wounded Warrior Project since 2008, but I am not an employee of the Wounded Warrior Project. When I came to Hawaii in July, I asked Ben if the AUSA would help me to do what I've been doing for the last several years, which is helping our wounded. And he said, you're now the Vice President of Wounded Warrior and Family Programs.
Oh, nice.
Without the benefit of an election or campaigning or anything.
Didn't even look at my resume.
It was unanimous vote by the chapter committee.
There you go. Which, of course, is comprised of Ben. So anyway, no.
So usually people, you get into a position like that, and it's sometimes thankless, but actually this is exactly what I wanted to do, and the types of things we've gotten involved in are exactly where I wanted to see myself, and what I wanted to do in coming here, and why I mentioned it to Ben. So the support of AUSA in helping me to help our wounded, and in fact doing more than I had imagined when I came.
Tony, do us a favor for our friends. Could you give us your insight and your reflections on both, not only both gentlemen, but also the organizations they represent?
Yeah, Veterans United has supported AUSA as soon as we found out about what they do, and both of these guys are stellar. I just met Matt today, but from his background, what he talked about being from New Jersey, being committed to Wounded Warriors, so committed he got his niece to be in charge of veterans, the Wounded Warrior Project in New York City. So that's how committed he is. He's getting his family. You got to go do this. Right? So, both of these organizations, the two things, the Wounded Warriors Project and AUSA, need to be kept going, because there's these Army veterans and these our wounded soldiers that need help, and without funds from organizations like us, they could lose the ability to help, And that's what we support them big time.
Fellas, Chris and Corey, some thoughts before we jump in with both of our friends?
Man, I think it's fantastic. I mean, I love being surrounded by people like this, especially big organizations like AUSA and, also the Wounded Warrior. I was actually talking to Matt before the show, asking him, is there a chance that there's going to be a presence of Wounded Warriors here on Oahu, right? Because we have such a huge military presence, and, you hear about Wounded Warriors are big in San Antonio, where I'm from. Big shout out to San Antonio, Texas, all our San Antonio, Texas listeners, home of the enchilada. Yeehaw! And Ben didn't mention it, but Ben's got a little Texas. There you go. See, he's got some South Texas in him too. We were talking about Mexican food, and where are you from? Texas? I knew it. When people talk about how they can't get a good Mexican plate out here, sometimes I know they're from Texas. But anyway, so got a little off track. Yeah, so we're excited, man. I'd love to see there be a Wounded Warrior presence here on the island. It's such a great organization. I got a lot of friends and actually some relatives that are wrapped up in the organization, so it'd be nice to have something out here.
Yeah. Corey, how about yourself?
I'm just stoked and humbled, man. We get so tied up with what we're trying to do to help veterans on so many fronts, and sometimes it feels overwhelming when you see about how many projects and how many different ways you're trying to go, and then you meet up with two people who are doing something on a much larger scale, and you realize that there's a whole pool of people out here that are here to help veterans. Hopefully some of our listeners today will get something out of today's show, and it'll be worth all the efforts.
And that's what the show's all designed to be about. We're just a group of guys, man, that are passionate about helping veterans. And there's just so many organizations out there that support and help. But as a veteran, where do you go? There's so many of these organizations. How do I get in contact with them? We really need to do a better job of having a list of all these different organizations that help on one spot, that a veteran can go, hey, listen, go to this website. There's a list of all these people, what they do, how they can help you. If this is your situation, contact them. Because quite honestly, we as veterans don't know who is out there to help us. So I'm glad to have them on the show.
Well, we're going to get together with both of our friends here in a moment, with both Ben and Matt. We have a bottom of the hour news break that we're going to take care of. That allows us a little bit more time to have our conversation. But if you are dialed in right now and interested in learning more, Facebook page for Veterans Movement really is the clearinghouse still, Chris, right?
That's absolutely correct. Right now we got some traction with the Veterans Movement Facebook page. Again, Jason Scott has been doing a great job with our social media. We're on YouTube. You guys can go catch the last couple episodes actually watching the show live, or it's not live when you're watching it. It's probably already aired. Anyways, yeah.
Well, you'll be alive when you're watching.
Yeah, we'll be alive, so that's good. But yeah, so catch us up on Facebook. Go on to Facebook, type in your search bar, the Veterans Movement, post your comments, what you liked about the show, what you disliked. We'll just delete those. But join us, please.
Do we know who this fellow is? He shows up every week, but we're a little confused as to why. Do we leave the door open again? Is that what's going on?
I thought this was Rustin.
This is not Malenko's room. What's going on? Where am I?
It soon will be at this rate. But we're together, and we're going to take our very short break. Bottom of the hour news and information. When we return, it's more of the Veterans Movement. Stand by. Welcome back to the Veterans Movement here on this gorgeous Saturday morning. Thanks so very much for taking the time, and more importantly, thank you for participating. Monitoring what's happening on the Veterans Movement Facebook page, as Chris alluded to. Momentum is there, the comments are wonderful, but if you have show ideas, or if there are guests that you would like to chat with, if you have a particular issue that's of importance to you and your family, why not log on and share it there? Because, Chris, that really is a place where we go.
That is the place, and that's what drives our next show and our upcoming shows in the future. We take things that are happening, current events, and issues that our current active duty military members have, or even people who've been out, benefit related things like that. It's kind of what gets us. We have our Wednesday meeting for the Veterans Movement. We look at the comments that have been posted, and we kind of discuss, well, who can we bring on to get these issues addressed? And that's actually how we met Corey. Corey just used to nag us. He used to come on the Facebook page, and we said, you know what, let's just make this guy a part of the movement.
At that point in time, living out of a van, it was a great option. A bunch of guys that looked and smelled just like me. It was great.
Is that because of living in the van, or is there another reason we should know about it?
I don't know where that came from.
I'm not quite sure.
Left fielders, bro.
Wow. But anyway, bottom line is log on, be a
Yeah.
part of it because it's your interaction and
That's right.
it's your feedback
Right.
that really propels the program.
As veterans, man, we like to, I mean, I can speak and say this, but we like to complain sometimes about issues, you know, but that's where it stops, right? So unless you actually take some sort of initiative and do something about it, we're not asking you to call up Congress or do anything like that, but we want to help you, and we can provide that for you. I mean, we were actually pretty successful in having some pretty powerful players with the whole BAH county limit issue, or excuse me, the VA county limit issue that had come up earlier, and I mean, that's what we're here for. We just want to pretty much magnify the efforts that you're making, you know, on your behalf, so.
I actually want you to call Congress. actually.
Yeah, and Tony does want you to.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Call the Senate, call the president, man.
yeah.
We got a problem.
Actually, Tony has about 12 Obama phones he'd like to hand out after the show, so just call up and sign up. We're done.
I got some family with those phones.
Listen, we have good friends in studio, and we're just getting started and ramped up in learning more about roles and also impact to our community on a couple of different fronts. And so, Matt, if you don't mind, I'm going to start with you, and anybody, please jump in at any time. Tell us about the history behind Wounded Warriors and also mission, and share with us all the information we need to know.
Well, okay, so again, I'm not really representing the Wounded Warrior Project.
Understand.
Okay, but I am happy to announce that this year, the Wounded Warrior Project has agreed to be a sponsor of the NACOA Wounded Warrior Canoe Regatta. So they will be here
Great.
and they will be contributing to our community, and we're excited because I think this is the first step in them establishing a permanent presence here in Hawaii. So,
Excellent.
it's great progress.
Excellent.
And I'm even happier about it because Ben tagged me to be the co-chair of the Wounded Warrior Canoe Regatta this year. So
Seems the more time you spend together, you have a little bit more on the plate. I love it.
well, it's actually fairly easy. We're building on the work of Judge Kubo over the last 6 years, and he's done some fabulous work to put together just an extraordinary event. I witnessed it last year, and I'm all too happy to really to take the reins of it and try to help shape it into what it will be this year. This year, we're looking to involve our warriors, our wounded warriors, all the more so as participants in the event. So if you've got a Purple Heart, or if you've been wounded, or you're dealing with post-traumatic stress, we'd love to have you come join us as a participant this year in the Wounded Warrior Canoe Regatta.
Matt, what about just spectators and people like that? I mean, this is obviously something that's going to be open to the public. Is that correct? Anybody can come and support?
Absolutely, absolutely open to the public. Not only open to it, we welcome them to come. What I hope will come of this day is that people not involved in the military will take the opportunity to get to know some of those who've sacrificed. To ask, not just to thank them for their service, but to ask them who they are, what they're doing with their lives, what their plans are, what their challenges are, and maybe lend a helping hand, maybe by looking into hiring, whatever it might be. But just, it's a matter of respect that our communities get to know the young men and women who sacrifice so much for them.
Mhm. Very well put. The Wounded Warrior Project has a remarkable reputation, even among citizens, simply because of the mission that they engage in every single day. In your association with the Wounded Warrior Project, and maybe not speaking as a representative, but just as personal experience, can you share a little bit about how you see and witness the impact?
Well, the Wounded Warrior Project has a great reputation because they've earned it. Their mission is to honor and empower wounded warriors, and they've been doing that since 2005, I think it is. I've been involved in a lot of activities with them. I'll tell a short story. I had a client come into my office one day and ask if I could recommend a veterans organization for a major gift. Who would put it to best use? And I told her it wasn't really in my field to tell her who to give her money to. In any case, she kind of pressured me, and I told her I would do some research. And after a couple of weeks, 12 of my friends who were still on active duty recommended the Wounded Warrior Project. I flew down to Jacksonville. We visited with the Wounded Warrior Project. And on Veterans Day of 2011, she donated $1 million to the Wounded Warrior Project.
Wow.
Now, that $1 million supports one of our wounded attending a resident program in Jacksonville every year. Now, there are 40 that attend that resident program in Jacksonville every year. The $1 million helps one every year. They've expanded the program, and now they have in San Antonio and 2 or 3 other places, they run this full year resident program. It's unlike other programs that are a mile wide and an inch deep. This is a mile deep and an inch wide, so it's really making an impact.
Ben, would you mind sharing as well with association and also contact?
Yeah, absolutely. And again, we're not part of the Wounded Warrior Project, and clearly we don't have as deep pockets as they do. But here in Hawaii, we are a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and with the money we get from our corporate members, and today we're pleased to say we have 53 corporate members as part of the Hawaii chapter, and that's grown from 16 over the last couple of years.
Wow,
And
nice.
based on that recognition, the Hawaii chapter was recognized as the best chapter in all of the AUSA for the size of our chapter, which is over 1,000 members. And we also won the best overseas chapter this year for 2012, 2013. We're excited about that. Some of the local programs that we support is an in-resident PTSD program at Tripler. And there's about 13 patients who spend about 8 weeks in an intensive therapy program at the hospital. They had many outings, and one of them was going to Fort Chapter and bowl, and they had to pay for those bowling events out of their pocket. Well, we said there's no reason those folks should have to pay, and it was about $100. And one of our great corporate sponsors, Island Palm Communities, has agreed to fund their entire bowling events for a full year. It's about $650, but to them it was a no-brainer to support some of our Wounded Warrior programs. We've had some great polo events on the North Shore. I don't know if you've seen or heard about those, but
Sure.
AOSA has sponsored with Dawson Incorporated, as well as J&N and Cycle City. The proceeds from that goes to support a Horses for Heroes program on the North Shore. So many wounded warriors and their family members can take free horse riding lessons as part of the money that we raise as part of that activity. We've got, just many, many great examples of that, but we're just excited locally for what we can do here in Hawaii. But as I said before, it's companies like Veterans United who have provided us the funds to be able to reach out and support our soldiers and family members. So we're excited to have them as part of our team.
Right. The demands are great. And unfortunately, we do live in a scenario where the resources are, it's the lifeblood of any organization in order to fulfill and pursue a mission. But you mentioned a couple of corporate sponsors and, of course, highlighting Veterans United. If there's someone dialed in right now that would like to assist in any way, how would you recommend that they do that? And how can we contact you to express that support in any way possible?
Yeah, through AUSA, the local chapter here in Hawaii, if they would like to become a corporate member, that's easy enough, and we would certainly welcome that. Additionally, in conjunction with the Wounded Warrior Canoe Regatta, on the Friday the 15th, we're having the Hawaii Warrior Job Fair. And so if a business owner would like to hire people, is looking to hire quality people, they'll have access on the 15th to participate in a job fair.
That's in August, right? August 15th.
August 15th is the Hawaii Warrior Job Fair, and the 16th is the Canoe Regatta.
Gotcha.
Now with the regatta also, this year we have corporate sponsors of each boat. So if a business would like to sponsor a boat, it's a mere $150 to sponsor a boat, and then if they want to, they can provide the 6 team members with T-shirts and hats if they'd like to.
Yeah.
Oh,
Wait,
boy.
hold on.
Can we get a
Time
six?
out. How
six
many
deal?
boats are
six
there
boats
that need sponsored?
Wow.
Yeah.
Or you can have all 40 boats if you
All
like.
right.
One to sail in and the rest for the galley. So, that'll work out. That'll work out.
Back on corporate members, as Matt said, it's about $150 which is our base level. But we actually created what we call levels of sponsorship. So you will know up front whether it's $150 you're contributing to or at the $15,000 level. You'll know up front what your money is going towards, whether it's supporting Army soldiers to attend the Army Ball Free, whether it's supporting golf events, for folks coming back or from deployment ceremonies. You'll know up front, and we think it's the best way to forecast long-term within your annual plan, as opposed to asking you every other month, do you have another $500?
Right.
We'd rather program long-term so you know where your money is committed to for the long haul. And again, as I mentioned, Veterans United is one of our 5K sponsors. And so they know where their money is going to. And each of our corporate members, whether it's the $150 level that you want to contribute to, or the max at $15,000, we can work any level of sponsorship that you're willing to support.
Excellent. Tony, your association, and what compelled you to have Veterans United be obviously such an integral part of the efforts today?
Well, Paul, who works with me, is my director of military relations, and he goes out into the community and just looks for organizations that our foundation and our company can help by providing the funds that our employees give to the foundation. So Paul came to me and said, hey, here's this opportunity. It's AUSA. This is the background of the company. Here's our website. Go check it out. What are you willing to do? So we decided to give the $5,000 and tried to run it through our foundation, and for some reason had a little bit of issues. And the foundation said we wouldn't be able to give the money to the foundation. So being committed to and being a man of my word, I said, no problem. We'll just take it out of the P&L and pay them directly from myself. And so we did that. But we're going to get this thing fixed with our foundation's paperwork because it is a very important thing. The military here in Hawaii, a lot of people don't even think about what it brings. Our state says that tourism drives our economy. I believe that for the state, but for the island of Oahu, military drives our economy. The tourism helps stimulate it. But H1, H2, and H3 freeway was not built for our convenience. It was to get people H3 from K Bay to Pearl Harbor, to get people from Pearl Harbor to Barbers Point, to get people from Pearl Harbor to Schofield Barracks. The military is what got us these freeways. And not only the sacrifices that they do on a daily basis to protect our freedom, but just the amount of revenue they bring into our state, we should be applauding them every single day.
There's no doubt. I mean, we've done analysis in the past about the economic impact of our U.S. military. There was a lot of consternation and worry and concern when Senator Noe passed. But it's heartening to see that level of commitment is still there and recognize that Hawaii is such a valuable outpost. And it's not simply because of pork barrel spending and all of that. It's a very real substantive presence that we need to strategically and logistically maintain, and that strength is essential for keeping peace throughout our region. But it would be nothing without the men and women in uniform that execute the duties every day, that make sure that those commitments are fulfilled. So organizations that assist and can support this cadre of men and women, I think it's about as valiant of an effort as you can undertake. So I'm delighted, Tony, to hear your thoughts as to why to support that. Ben?
Let me also just highlight again, the national AUSA organization is really the voice to Congress for the Army. And as you know, a typical military person feels hesitant to reach out and talk to his congressman or reach out and make complaints about what they don't have or need to have. And that's exactly what AUSA does at the national level, is they represent us to Congress. And it's the some 75,000 members that AUSA has that allows them to be relevant to Congress. And we have had several successes over the past several months. If you recall, the military lost their ability to pay tuition assistance. And because of companies like AUSA, they were able to overturn that, and so now military can use tuition assistance to pay for college. The big fight on COLA that we literally just had overturned,
right.
There was a big issue over retirees losing their COLA benefits, and even myself, that was about $75,000 that I was going to lose because of the decision that were being done in Congress. And thanks to General Sullivan, who's the president of AUSA, he worked with the Congress directly with the Senate and Armed Services Committee and had that decision overturned, which is phenomenal.
We might have to have you on the show more often, Ben. A lot of these things are things we were talking about not
Yeah.
more than 2-3 weeks
That's
ago.
right.
And to
And-
see some fruition from
And
this
because
is-
Ben heard that radio show, he was like, hey,
Driven
I need
to
to
move.
go address. So thanks for being
Right.
a listener, Ben, and an activist.
I think it was primarily because of Rustin's perspective that he brought to the program was the stimulating.
I think it's also, it bears mentioning how intuitive this canoe race is. One of our big things here at Veterans Movement is tying together the civilian aspect of Hawaii and the military aspect. And what a better way to do it than, paddling, which is so deeply ingrained in the culture here. I really hope that people will use this as a bridge to get those two communities to get some dialogue going, even though there is, it's not one and the other, but what a great bridge between the two, a canoe race. That's awesome.
Well, and the bridge really has been there and is building. The Outrigger Canoe Club and the Pearl Harbor, Honolulu Pearl Harbor Canoe Club have been tremendous supporters of this, and it really has brought my soldiers from Schofield down to interact with the Hawaiian culture and learn the respect for the boats, respect for canoeing and the teamwork that goes on in that. So we already have that in place, and you hit on it exactly.
And the
It's a
therapy
great
behind
match.
that, right? And the
So-
therapy.
Well, and I'll back up a little bit and say that in my opinion, and Ben represents the national movement and the national contribution of AUSA. Locally, there's still so much to be done with regard to our wounded and their families. And this is one step in meeting some of those needs. And I love it because when I think of the priorities of what our wounded need, it would involve mental health, it would involve jobs, and it would involve family caregivers. And if we would do everything we possibly could to help our veterans with mental health issues, which we all struggle from, okay, in various degrees. So there are just different ways that it affects our veterans. And jobs, and we have the Wounded Warrior Warrior Job Fair mixed into this as a vital part of what going to make this weekend so good. But the canoeing is outdoors, it's physical, it's social with other people, and it involves us with the community. It's a perfect match for what our wounded need.
Right.
And I'll say one more thing, and that is that this year we're not only going to involve more of our wounded, but we've invited Gold Star families to participate. The families of those who clearly were wounded and that they were killed. So these families have been wounded, and this is a way, again, to show respect for them. And then for the first time, we've invited Vietnam veterans who were wounded to participate in this race in a way that says, years ago, we didn't do right by them, but we want to welcome them home, and we want to show our respect for their sacrifice as well.
Right. In the recent State of the Union address, Wounded Warrior was highlighted during that presentation, joint session of Congress. There was no applause that was louder, longer, or greater. And it was an expression that clearly supersedes any political division. What I was gratified to see is that it wasn't just for that moment, that various media outlets really delved in to his story, and it was heart-rendering and very moving. But it's also indicative of just so many that are in a similar situation where they went abroad whole on their mission and unfortunately came back as a wounded warrior. Sidebar, you mentioned Gold Star families and what their challenges are in order to be an advocate and assist and deal with some emotional and physical challenges. I have a lot of aloha. I mean, just can't express as much for families who are supporters and who are ardently by the sides of their spouses that return home. Would both of you gentlemen like to comment about families specifically?
We have 2 active members of the Hawaii chapter who are Gold Star family members. Alan Ho was one of the civilian aides to the Secretary of the Army, as everyone knows, is a huge supporter of anything here in Hawaii. And Dave Brostrom, he represents Boeing Company, is also a Gold Star family member. They still grieve, as you know, every day, but it's programs like this where they can provide funds, they get out and see other soldiers and other family members who have gone through similar challenges, and they've just been great supporters of our local chapter. And so again, thanks to Alan Ho and Dave Brostrom for supporting the Hawaii chapter, and our hearts and our prayers are always with them as they suffer every day.
Absolutely. Matt, how about yourself?
Well, you mentioned the greatest applause at the State of the Union address, but as I recall, the greatest applause at the UH Army football game was when Captain Flip Klein was introduced, and the AUSA helped sponsor him for a week out here in Hawaii, him and his wife. And it was, he makes this...
Describe who he is.
Yeah, Captain Flip Klein, West Point, class of '06. Served for years in the Army, was deployed to Afghanistan, and was hit by an IED. That was October 22nd of 2012. So here he was just a little over a year later, and we were able to provide him a week vacation in Hawaii with his wife. He's still an inpatient at Walter Reed. He's severely wounded, but he's a great American, and he's got a great future ahead. What an attitude of positive outlook on the future. And he thinks of himself as a warrior, not really as a wounded warrior. So I say with he's a triple amputee with other injuries as well. But boy, to see somebody coping with that, and I have to shout out to the Polynesian Cultural Center, who put him up for the whole day and treated him like a king, him and his wife. We had sponsors at Blue Hawaiian that flew him in a helicopter around the island. The spirit of aloha was phenomenal. The folks at Roy's Waikiki took care of him at Haleiwa Joe's and Haleiwa and at the Hula Grill. They took him up in glider rides at Dillingham, all of this at the expense of the owners of these businesses and with the support of the AUSA Hawaii and the people that donated to make his flights out of here possible. So,
Fantastic. And what a wonderful way to wrap up our conversation. And for our folks who are listening right now, can you once again share your contact information? Ben, would you start with us, please?
Absolutely. In fact, we do have a Facebook presence, something that we just started not that long ago, but you can find us via email at hawaii@ausa.org or on our website at ausa.org, and you can look up the Hawaii chapter. Feel free to send us an email anytime, and we really look forward, because we really need members to make our voice known to Congress. And as you know, unless you have a large presence, Congress doesn't want to listen. And so we really need anyone to sign up as an individual member, and we look for our other companies to sign up as corporate sponsors.
Excellent. Excellent indeed.
yeah, for folks who want to get in touch with me about the job fair or the regatta, they can just get me on my cell phone, 609-851-8348. 609-851-8348. One day I'll change that to an 808.
Gentlemen, we can't thank you enough for taking the time, for the incredible missions that you both have, and for your remarkable, genuine selflessness in helping all of our friends in the U.S. military. Thank you so very much. Fellas, movement fellas, got a couple of minutes before we go. What can you say?
What can you say? That's 2 weeks in a row we've had some remarkable guests doing some remarkable things in this community. I think going back to the applause portion of the State of the Union and then the UH game, I think everybody's got it in them to just want to see a hero, be around a hero, and you can't help but get out of your seat and applaud these guys. And we just really encourage you guys to channel that, that energy you feel when you see a wounded warrior coming home, that thankfulness, that gratefulness. Take that and do something with it and be a part of these organizations. These guys are, great people, and they're definitely directing, everything in the right direction. So,
Well put, well put. Corey, before we go, brother.
Just real quick, I want to say thank you to our guests today, and hopefully somebody listening today is going to benefit from today's show, and I'm looking forward to being a part of it as well. Real humble today.
Thank you very much, Corey. Mr. Diaz, put a ball on it for us, sir.
I just really want to reach out to those people who are anti-war protesters and standers. You got to understand that only 1% of our countries accepted the call to duty. In the Vietnam era, it was draft. Appreciate those 1%, because we could get back to that one day, that draft, and the very person that is against this stuff and not supporting these men and women that's just doing a job to protect our freedom, I want to win you guys over. These men, these young men and women that go and defend our country to protect the freedoms that we enjoy every single day, we need to embrace them. We need to support them in every way we possibly can. So come join the movement.
Amen. Do that. Do that indeed. Everybody in studio, thanks so very much. I got to give it up because this was a great day. Really enjoyed and learned so much. Mahalos to everyone. To our fellas who are dialed in right now who would like to join in, and ladies, of course, go onto the Facebook page at the Veterans Movement. You'll find a whole litany of comments and outlets for information and learn more about the movement and be a part of it. Folks, have a great weekend. Can't wait till the next time. You're on the Veterans Movement on KHVH.